All right.
Casual talk
All right.
with
Let's
the
start
camera
recording.
going.
All right. Camera's rolling. Hey, so
All
I'm
right.
the Shiminator. That's my YouTube channel, the Shiminator, and this is Josh Baldwin. What's your channel? Mad.
This is Josh Baldwin from MadMoneyMillennial.
And I'm Shimon. I'm from the Shiminator channel, and we're going to be discussing Bitcoin, cryptocurrency, what we're investing in, all that. It's going to be fun. So let's just start with talking with Bitcoin. When did you discover Bitcoin? What's your opinion of Bitcoin? What do you think is going to happen with it?
So I discovered Bitcoin back in around 2017 when my friend from college, he was a computer engineer at the school I attended at UC Irvine. He told me about Bitcoin, and I heard about it on the news like here and there, but I was never like fully invested in the topic or doing any research on my own. But he actually got my interest by investing himself. He put a couple grand into it back in 2017 around July, I think. And at that time, I think it was around like 15, 16, 17K.
Right.
It wasn't,
yeah,
I hadn't hit the 20K max point yet. And so I decided to go and put a couple hundred of my own dollars into it as well, just to see what would happen. And we both ended up making a bit of money, but we both sold around Christmas time because like it was hitting that kind of that max price point right there. So we both just sold, but we should have held on to it. That was our worst mistake.
Yeah, that's something
what
that
about
everyone
you?
always says about Bitcoin is that if only they had held on to it longer. Like I discovered, so I was actually against Bitcoin for a long time, probably up until around 2019, only because I didn't think it was sustainable. The price differences were so drastic. Like at one point it would be 3K and then it would rise all the way up to 20K and then back to 5K. And it was just such a crazy volatility that I just didn't believe in it at all. And then I had a friend who started talking about it a lot, and I was really curious. I did the research, and like I do believe that Bitcoin, instead of like thinking like whether Bitcoin's going to go to 100K or whatever, I started to really see the value of what it is, like what the reason for it. Why should it exist? You know that famous video of 1995 where it's the reporters asking, "What is this internet thing, anyways?" You saw that video where it's like, "What is?"
I never saw that one, but
Yeah, it's a really viral video where this reporter's asking, "What is this internet thing anyway?" Like they had no idea what it was. And I definitely believe that cryptocurrency is like the new internet. It's going to be an amazing technology that's in its very infancy. And I think that a lot of programs are going to be built off smart contracts with Ethereum, and Bitcoin is just, it's going to be a virtual gold. Like I truly believe that, forget the price for a second. I really think that Bitcoin is like a new technology that could really be the pioneer for the future. I think that in the future, we're going to use Bitcoin for transactions. It's going to be a global currency. I think that when we start to go into like eventually when space exploration becomes a thing, we're going to use Bitcoin to transfer back and forth. We're not going to be using, the dollar. So
yeah,
I think that it's a global currency that has a lot of potential. And so once I saw that, I started to invest. I started around 11,000. It wasn't even really that long ago. I was able to buy a whole Bitcoin, but I was stupid. Like I was like, I don't know, it's too risky to really put like that much money into Bitcoin. So I did put a few thousand, but not enough. And then like I was telling all my family members, I'm like, this is the next future. This is a technology that in 10 years we're going to be talking about and regretting not putting more money into.
yeah.
So I was trying to convince all my family members, my friends, and everyone was starting to invest. But I only put like enough that I'm like doing really well for myself with Bitcoin now. But I didn't buy a whole Bitcoin, which was my regret because it was 11,000. I could have easily bought a whole Bitcoin.
there wasn't a lot of trust in Bitcoin back then. I remember it was still kind of a novel concept. People were
like even 6
were
months
wondering
ago.
if it's safe.
Yeah,
Like when people were first investing in it, it was on those exchanges that weren't solid platforms yet. Like we didn't have things like Coinbase, right. Or these other like exchanges that are like very well built with all the latest security and everything. Yeah. Back then, there was just all these exchanges where people would invest their money and they would lose it a couple seconds later to some like hacker.
Yeah, there's always crazy stories about people losing their Bitcoins as well. One guy lost like a ton of money at a landfill. He lost like hundreds of millions of dollars. This is crazy. Yeah. That's because they had the wallets themselves. So when you have a Bitcoin wallet, if you lose the password, you're done. But now if you invest in like Coinbase, I mean, you're not going to, even if you lose your password, you can make a new Coinbase password. They do have a wallet actually where you can have it encrypted, but it's just interesting how people lost so much money and like they're trying to get it now. One guy had like 8 out of 10 guesses left, and like he's not even gonna guess the rest for now because if he guesses it wrong 2 more times, he's done. He's locked out.
Well, did you hear about the Chipotle contest? It was like burrito or Bitcoin.
No, what was this?
Yeah, so on like April 1st, it's a burrito or Bitcoin Chipotle contest. By the way, I'm not like endorsing this in any way.
Oh yeah,
Um, so basically, like, there's this guy who had a Bitcoin wallet, and like it's the same thing. Like he has like 8 out of 10 tries already
yeah.
used, and he has like 2 left. So he made this whole contest, and he got everyone involved
Yeah.
who like buys Chipotle to go and like go on his website and try to figure out the 6-digit code to opening his Bitcoin wallet.
What a
And so
nightmare.
everyone's gonna try a different combination, and
Can you
whoever
imagine
wins
though, like
gets something.
having millions of dollars lost because you just didn't understand the value back in the day? Like, and like people bought like tons of Bitcoin, they just lost it because it was worth like a couple dollars. They didn't think much of it. Now though, it's like 50,000, 60,000 a coin, and they're like, what? So it's just
Yeah.
crazy. Part of the reason the Bitcoin price is so high now is definitely because of the halving of mining. Like mining affects all of Bitcoin, you know. And when there's less Bitcoins being produced by mining, the price rises because it's supply and demand, which is called stock flow ratio. Stock flow ratio, if you look at a chart of stock flow ratio, you can literally see that the price of Bitcoin is directly correlated to the mining. Like it's you can almost predict the price. Like right now, the stock to flow ratio, I'm pretty sure predicts that Bitcoin will be like at $110,000, $120,000 a Bitcoin in the next few months.
Wow,
A
that's
lot of
crazy.
people, yeah, that's why a lot of people right now are trying to buy Bitcoin, and they're predicting like Bitcoin will reach 80,000 by May, because technically speaking, you really can predict a lot with stock to flow ratio, which is basically supply and demand. If you can measure supply and you can sort of measure demand, you can get a
Okay.
pretty realistic price like for what Bitcoin should be valued at. And especially with cryptocurrencies, it's always a little bit more. So if we're correct, Bitcoin is going to be going high. It's going to be rising.
Yeah.
So,
Wow, that's crazy. So you actually have software that can like make those projections, or
so I don't have software, but there is charts that you can like look at the charts. If you look up stock to flow ratio,
uh-huh.
and you can use it to predict fairly accurately what the price of Bitcoin should be, which is it's quite crazy. And obviously, it's not 100% because there are other elements that affect the price. For example, Tesla buying Bitcoin, that affected the price. Walmart is saying they're going to buy $1 billion of Bitcoin. That's going to affect the price. Like different corporations spending money on Bitcoin obviously is going to rise the price, both for
Yeah.
publicity and because they're buying Bitcoin. The biggest issue is I don't really care too much about corporate. Like I know everyone talks about, oh, this corporation is buying Bitcoin and that one, but the truth is like you should always buy what you believe in. So if you already believe in Bitcoin, and you have to do some research to obviously figure out if you believe in it, read the white paper. But if you believe in Bitcoin, decide that you believe in it and invest in it. Forget what other people invest in. Forget if Tesla drops Bitcoin. It doesn't matter. None of that matters, because I truly believe that if you believe in the investments that you invest in, the rest will fall into place. Like even if the company drops temporarily, if you see that there's a value in a product, and there's a competitive edge. I mean, Bitcoin has a competitive edge over other cryptos. It's the first major one, and it's really the dream. You know, the dream of crypto comes from Bitcoin. If Bitcoin fails, I don't think other cryptos are going to have much of a chance. I just think that using logic, we can come to a conclusion about whether an investment is good or not without all the other external factors that could obviously affect Bitcoin. I mean, yeah, obviously, if more corporations adopt Bitcoin, its price will rise. But if it's not a good product, and if we don't believe in its fundamental value, then it doesn't matter who adopts it. It could be adopted nationally, but
Yeah, exactly.
if it's not differing from the dollar, if there's no value added, eventually it will crash and burn. So that's my
Exactly.
main take with Bitcoin. Do you invest in other cryptocurrencies or just Bitcoin?
Yeah, so I got a couple of the other ones. I got some in Ethereum, some in
Ethereum.
like XLM, like a
Oh,
bunch of like the free ones on Coinbase.
yeah.
Yeah, I watched the videos and got those. But yeah, I actually ended up exchanging those to Bitcoin just because, like you were saying, like I believe in Bitcoin a lot more than the other cryptocurrencies, and if that one doesn't end up winning or outweighing the other ones, I'm not sure any other ones can actually come up to par
Exactly.
at the same speed or the same like efficiency and way that Bitcoin has. I mean, Bitcoin's already got these like established cryptocurrency trading platforms now with millions and millions of dollars literally being funneled through all the time, just like the actual stock market. But
Right.
it's on another exchange. It's like it's insane right now.
Yeah, I
What about
agree.
you? Got any other cryptos?
So the two main cryptos I believe in the most are definitely Ethereum and Bitcoin. I think Ethereum is possibly even more important because of smart contracts and the amazing programs and ability you have to build with it. Like the way to think of Ethereum, I tell people often, it's not exactly factually correct, but it's a good way to think of it is Ethereum is like a building blocks. You can use those building blocks of Ethereum to build incredible programs, like decentralized programs. These smart contracts, they give you massive flexibility on what you can create with Ethereum. So because of that, Ethereum has an incredible value. There's real world value to Ethereum. Whereas gold, I mean, Bitcoin in terms of gold, Bitcoin doesn't really have as much value. In other words, it's a great gold. It's a great holder of value. It's almost like gold. It holds value, and it will over time it will go up, and it has its uses. But it's more of a currency and more of a gold than anything else. Whereas Ethereum, I truly believe it's going to be used more and more often. Not only that, but it already has a lot of uses with NFTs. Ethereum is just something it really is a building block. Whereas like Bitcoin has basically one use where it's sort of like other like currency, gold, all that, but it's more of a store of value. Ethereum, I generally believe, has so much value to add to the world. It's going to be, we're going to use so many things that are going to be built off of Ethereum. So I think it's a lot more use, like it has its use cases. And so I think Ethereum is definitely my favorite. I can also look at my portfolio and tell you all the other ones that I have. I use Coinbase. Just gonna log in.
Okay.
So my favorites are the ones obviously the ones I believe in more are the ones I buy. I don't care how cheap it is. I'm not gonna buy it if I don't believe in it. So what I have is a lot of Bitcoin, a lot of Bitcoin, more Bitcoin than maybe I should have considering its volatility and danger, but it's a risk. It's a risk play that I'm taking, and I'm gonna just continue buying Bitcoin over time. I also have a lot of Ethereum because again, I do think that Ethereum is gonna reach around 10,000 per coin at some point. I think it has the
you've already heard people like Graham talking about that, saying that Ethereum's going up. You know, it's just that secondary cryptocurrency that everyone's looking to as like the one that's going to come up as well.
Yeah.
But alongside it. So
there's a few differences though. Ethereum has a lot more coins. Again, it's more use based. It's meant for using instead of just storing value. Like the currency itself will continue to create coins every year. But the way to think of it, and the reason it won't create inflation is that there's a set amount that it creates every year. And so once there's a certain amount of Ethereum, a large amount, the extra Ethereum created every year becomes less and less and less important compared to the whole. You know, if there's a billion Ethereum coins, then creating a million Ethereum coins in a year is not going to really affect the price very much. So that's the reason it's going to be very stable, Ethereum, even though it's not an inflation coin, but it's not deflation either. Meaning Bitcoin has 21 million coins, and we're done. We're not creating anymore. You know, once we mine those, so that like fundamentally creates a value. Whereas Ethereum, a certain amount is created every year, but it's like almost like inflation in a way, but a weaker inflation, where the more it's not like it doesn't rise exponentially. It rises very solidly over time.
The other you say they're being used for special things like those contracts and like NFTs, things like that. Like a lot of things, the other cryptocurrencies can't solve, Ethereum can.
Right. Exactly.
So I guess that's where it's coming into use.
The other cryptocurrency I have is Cosmos. I like Cosmos first of all because it has a 5% interest on cryptocurrency automatically. It stakes, and then so I've actually made kind of a lot of money from it. I have a few Cosmos. They're not very expensive, and I really like it because they give you money from it. Like it's almost like dividends from the stock market, but it's actually higher. I've made more money from it than I was expecting. And I also like Cosmos because it's atoms. They're called atoms, and it's part of a Cosmos like network. And I like it because it's like the internet for cryptocurrencies. It's a little hard to get into exactly how it works, but that's really what it's called. It's the internet of cryptocurrencies. It works with other cryptos to sort of create a node. And I like Cosmos a lot. I actually have a video on it. I love Cosmos. The next one I have is Stellar Lumens. Now this one is weird because I initially started investing in Stellar Lumens because it caught my eye. Honestly, I didn't even really know why I was investing in it. It was when I first got into crypto. But the more I thought of it, the more it's XLM, by the way. XLM is Stellar Lumens.
XLM, yeah. I had a little bit of that as well.
It's very cheap, and it's supposed to connect banks, payment systems, and individuals. It's similar to Bitcoin in many ways. The main issue, of course, being that it's inflationary. So there's going to be a lot of XLM created at any given time, including by mining. So the risk is that the coins will never really gain that much value, even if people invest in it. Similar to Dogecoin. Dogecoin, people want it to go to $1, but for the amount of money needed to be invested into it, basically the way you can tell if an inflationary coin is inflationary or not is by market cap. So if a coin has a high market cap, that means a lot of people are investing in it, but it has a low price. That means that there are so many coins that even though many people are investing in it, no matter how high the market cap is, there's just too many coins for it to be valuable, you know?
Right.
Think of it as sand on a beach. If sand all of a sudden became more valuable, it still wouldn't be worth that much because there's sand everywhere. So you pick up a scoopful of sand, and even if there's a lot of people buying sand, it's still not going to rise in price because there's too much of it. There's too much sand. So that's the way I think of inflationary currencies. Like some currencies, there's just too much of it for it to really gain in price. So you have to have a lot of them to really get a lot of value from it. But it's really more about what it does for you rather than its price, you know? If you think of it as just a gamble to make money from it, then there is a risk. There's an inherent risk with gambling for the cryptocurrency. But if you believe in what it does, then there's a value. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
So then there's Litecoin. I love Litecoin. It's not as popular to me. It's not as I don't like it quite as much as I like Bitcoin and Ethereum. But I like Litecoin because it is faster transactions. It's a split off from Bitcoin. It's supposed to fix a lot of the issues with Bitcoin. So theoretically speaking, if it were to be mass adopted, it would be a more efficient method than Bitcoin is currently. So because of that, I did buy some Litecoin, a few $100s.
So it's fixing a lot of like the transactional processing times,
the speed, the size of the blockchain, stuff like that.
Okay.
I also recently invested in a new coin called ANKR, Anchor. It's an Ethereum token, and it's supposed to bring together, I'll read you exactly what it says here. It's staking DeFi platform that aims to make it easy and affordable for anyone to participate in blockchain ecosystems by building dApps, which is hosting nodes or staking. The Anchor token can be used to pay for services on the Anchor platform, such as node deployment and API services, participating in on-chain governance. Long story short, it does a lot of things. I'm not too involved in it right now. I just bought maybe like $20 worth, but it has interesting properties. The other one I invested in is Tezos. This I invested in a while ago. And I actually don't remember why I bought it, but I do remember that it had some interesting stuff. You can look at the white paper to find out. Let's see.
That one you mentioned previously, it sounded like, is it node implementation?
So, I mean, I don't really know enough about Anchor to know exactly what it's talking about, but
so I think node implementation, that's actually, that could be highly valuable actually, because that would mean that they're helping other blockchain users or companies implement their nodes. So they're doing node implementation for not just themselves, but for other companies as well. That would be, a potential value increase for that cryptocurrency.
Yeah, so there are nodes. They've currently done around 8,000 nodes.
Okay.
It has promise. I do need to do more research before I would put in more than say $100 in it. From my initial inspection of it, it looked really cool. So
that actually might be a good strategy to do for when you're analyzing cryptos. You want to see the ones that are helping out other cryptocurrency companies, whether that be with their technology or their node implementation or their tool sets or just their methodologies for how they're doing everything. Exactly. And those are the ones that you could potentially invest in and will increase in value because, they're providing that assistance to other companies. So other companies are going to see the value, and then their users are going to, go to the forums, be talking about it on Reddit or whatnot. And and Reddit forums are what drives a lot of these.
That's true.
The value of these cryptos up. And, we just saw with even with the stock market, GME just got pumped up, through Reddit, essentially.
GME is the least of it. I mean, obviously GME was the major point, but I mean, it ended up pumping up a bunch of other stocks, including AMC and a lot of other. It's crazy what happened with GME. Even right now, GME is still worth a lot of money. We can check the stock market right now. It's still worth. I mean, GameStop. My gosh, what they did to GameStop is crazy.
I didn't even think it was going to go that high after that. I thought like the hedge fund managers were for sure just going to like push it back down, but like the people won essentially. I mean, out of that situation because it got pumped up twice. Yeah, it's still
at $195. So it's crazy.
Yeah.
And then now with all those funds, they have a new CEO, so they're trying to make sure that GameStop has a future. And we'll see what happens. It's definitely a gamble, but it was a fun piece of news, that's for sure.
Yeah, isn't that funny that there was a change of management right when that happened?
No, they did it on
They're like,
purpose.
okay,
I think they realized there was a lot of promise, and that if
yeah,
they
it was a
were smart,
re-strategization.
yeah, they
Is
got a
what it's
lot of
from.
money from it. My last one is
Yeah.
my basic attention token. The reason I like this is that there's a browser called Brave, which is basically a privacy browser run on a cryptocurrency. And essentially the way it works is as you're on the browser, you get Brave tokens, and the advertisers basically reward you with Brave tokens, and you reward advertisers with Brave tokens, depending on the advertisements you want to see. And the reason I like it is because it has a real use if people start using this Brave browser. Now, mind you, I don't know how many people are actually using it right now, but I downloaded the Brave browser. It's pretty cool. It's a privacy browser. It runs with Tor and as well as other things to try to make it a pretty private experience.
Okay.
I'm skeptical about it being a real use for now because who's using Brave? You know, everyone's using Google Chrome or maybe a different browser, but in general, it's Google Chrome or Firefox or
Yeah, or you could just, do an incognito tab.
exactly. There's a couple other ones. The iPhone
Blur.
has one.
Yeah.
But in general, I think that that is definitely the future, though. I do think browsers will start to have more and more current cryptocurrencies involved with them. And the basic attention token has risen because of people are using it and advertisers are putting their money into it. So that is definitely an interesting one. Actually, let us know down below what you guys think is your favorite cryptocurrency. If you're watching this far, let me know because I'm really curious about what other people enjoy. Everyone has their reasons for buying different cryptocurrencies. There's Dogecoin freaks, you know what I mean? I like Dogecoin. I'm not saying they're actual freaks.
Yeah, I know. That'll be interesting to see
Yeah, let's
what
like
people
see
have
what
to say
people's
about that.
opinions are, you know, and what they think.
Yeah, Dogecoin to the moon or what?
Yeah, what do you think of
The
GameStop?
comments with that.
Dogecoin, GameStop, all those things. Let us know what you think. It would definitely be an interesting conversation to have as well about that. But
All of them to the moon.
yeah, so you mentioned before we started getting on that you got QQQ, which is Invesco Trust, which is the NASDAQ. Is that something also you're interested in? Stocks? Are you interested in investing? In, yeah.
Yeah, so I was invested. I was previously invested in crypto and not really the stock market so much. But what I was wanting to do primarily was figure out a place to put my money, not just sitting in my bank account, not sitting in a savings account. Collecting what is it, like 0.009% API?
Right.
Like it's nothing. I was looking for a place to put my money where it's going to be money's going to be constantly accumulated. The interest rate is just going to make me more money, and I don't have to worry about the money sitting in my bank account not even keeping up with the cost of inflation, which is even higher than the savings rates for regular bank accounts. So if you put it in those words, it doesn't really make sense to even leave a cent in your savings account that way, because you're actually losing money over time.
That's true.
Not within the short term, but of the long term.
Right.
Yeah.
In the short term, you do have to, but you can have a high yield savings account. Sometimes they allow withdrawals, but
that's what I was going to mention.
Money in a savings account. I mean, if inflation's above 2%, you're hurting yourself. I mean, right now inflation is not yet, but there's a lot of fear over inflation. But yeah, I agree. Absolutely, putting your money in the stock market is a good idea, and I'm glad you put it into QQQ because it's an ETF. Which, first of all, that's the way to go, anyways, for most of your money.
Mutual funds had like a pretty good interest rate. They were a lot better than the high interest savings accounts, which pretty much capped off at around 5 or 6%. Exactly. That was pretty much the best that I could find. Like there was Ally Financial Bank, which is one of the main ones, that capped off at like 5 or 6%. And so when I was looking at the stock market, you have things like bonds and CDs, which give you a steady rate of return of like 3 to 6%.
Don't do it.
Over the longer term.
Don't do it, CDs.
And yeah, I didn't want to do that either. There's issues when you're trying to take out money from those things. There's minimum terms that you need to keep your money in those things. So it's
also, the returns are terrible.
Have good access to my money.
The returns are terrible.
And the returns are terrible.
You want to do it is if you're absolutely confident that the stock market is going to crash for whatever reason, if you have some insider information. Other than that, like there's just no way. I mean, it's just such a bad system to put your money into a CD or even bonds. I mean, they're just not they're not what they used to be. You know, bonds used to give
Yeah.
2% returns over, and it's a promised guarantee return. Nowadays they give what, like 2% returns. It's barely over inflation. It's not worth it, in my opinion.
Yeah, it's crazy. So yeah, that's when I was kind of interested in looking at the mutual funds. So they have stock ETFs, they have bond adjusted ETFs. So there's all these different types of ETFs, but the one I was looking for was more kind of like the highest risk, but it's still like a good investment, and it's not as risky as like something like the stock market, right?
Right.
So your money can't like drop as the stock market crashes as fast, at least, or as strong as like as something like, I don't know, GameStop or Tesla.
Right. Individual stocks are
it's not affected by market forces as much because it's a collection of 100 companies
ETF,
of the best performing in the stock market. So your money is like essentially protected in a way, if you think about it that way. So right. That's why I decided to invest in NASDAQ, because I just wanted my money to have a good rate of return, you know, above 10%, ideally, which it's shown
it'll be 10% in the long run. I mean, in the short term, it's not going to be 10%, but in the long run, it will be.
Yeah, in the long run.
So let's go back to Bitcoin. I mean, obviously, I love the stock market. Both of our channels are somewhat connected to the stock market. I'm much more into stocks, but you're more into the stimulus and a lot of other things that are great. But let's talk about Bitcoin, because that's what this title is going to be about. Bitcoin. We got to make Bitcoin video. You know what I mean?
I know you're the Bitcoin video guy. I've only got a couple of them, but
I love crypto, man. Crypto is, I'm telling you, it's going to be the future. People are one day going to laugh at us and talking about crypto like we don't really know what we're talking about. You know, people are going to look at back in the day and be like, why didn't I invest in more crypto? Like it's more than just a currency. It's more than just a new fad. It's more than an ETF, or it's something special. It's a new technology. And I do think that as technology grows and as cryptos get more adopted, they're going to have more and more and more use cases. And I'm telling you, we're going to look back and be like, why didn't I invest more? You know what I mean? We knew.
Yeah,
why didn't we invest more? And obviously there's a risk, there's volatility, and you do have to be careful what you put into, because not every crypto is going to survive. I genuinely believe there's going to be a big what's the word? There's going to be a correction where a lot of cryptos are going to fall off and not gain popularity. So obviously, if you buy every crypto, you're going to lose money on some of them. But I do believe that the ones that have real value and the ones that are pushing the boundaries and the ones that have a goal, like Ethereum, it's going to go up. It's going to go up.
Absolutely.
What would you say is the future for Bitcoin, from your opinion? What do you think is going to happen to Bitcoin?
Well, so the way I see it, like as more companies have started adopting Bitcoin as a form of currency, you're going to see a lot of stimulation in the economy. Because how does stimulation in the economy happen? It's from transactions going back and forth. It's from fees being charged. It's from all these companies making more and more money from people making transactions.
You're saying
so as all these companies start adopting Bitcoin. Yeah, sorry, go ahead.
No, I was asking, you mean transactions like using Bitcoin?
Exactly, only using Bitcoin.
Okay,
yeah, so not using credit or debit card payments, but
right. So you're saying mass adoption will create a greater demand and a rise in price for Bitcoin.
Yeah, exactly. And as that happens, and as more companies start using this over just traditional banking methods, you're going to see a shift. You're going to see people start moving away from banks, and then that's going to be insane.
Right.
Because you're going to have the government being like, what is happening? We don't even have control over our people anymore, because we don't even have control over, we don't even have customers for our banks anymore. Right. They're going to be having to start regulating, you know, these cryptocurrencies, but they've already been deregulated, and you know, their security is just getting better and better.
Regulate Bitcoin though. You can definitely regulate Bitcoin.
Yeah. You can regulate it.
That's a major fear people have, is that mass regulation could temporarily create a dip in Bitcoin's price.
I mean, it's probably going to happen. Like when the government just starts putting its eyes fully like blinders on. What's that? What do you think
the price of Bitcoin will be in the next 5 years, in your opinion? Purely opinion, speculation.
Okay. Well,
currently it's around 58,000.
I can't really tell you, to be honest, because I haven't like looked at that ratio that you mentioned.
Stock to flow.
You know, I haven't used. Yeah, I haven't used that, and I haven't used any sort of like forecasting software to figure that out. But I definitely think it's going to push past 100K for sure. I mean, if only taken like 3 years to go up 40, 50K. I mean, what's going to stop it from going up even higher as more and more companies just see it? It's not going to be linear. It's going to be parabolic.
So what I think,
So
if I had to guess myself, I would say that there's two potential outcomes. The first is that Bitcoin will continue to rise in price, and then by the end of 2021, the price will be around 100,000, and by the next couple of years, it will reach 500,000. And if that happens, 500,000 Bitcoin will reach a level where it won't be as volatile, because that much market cap means that it takes a lot more to shake the price. So I think that eventually Bitcoin will hopefully stabilize around 500,000, and I believe that Bitcoin will reach around 100,000 by the end of 2021. The other possibility, and this one is a lot more definitely scarier, but it is a possibility, is that government regulation and government could crack down on Bitcoin hard enough that it could shake the price quite a bit. And depending on how the government reacts to it, and depending on what they try to put in place, it could definitely put a dampering on Bitcoin's price. I think it's a lot less likely. I think the price of it, I think it going up 500,000 in the next couple of years is like almost 100%. But the chance that it doesn't is because of government, because government does have a lot of power, and they could potentially create a lot of problems for Bitcoin that could really hurt Bitcoin for sure. There's also a conspiracy theory about Bitcoin being connected to Tether, which could also hurt Bitcoin's price, but I don't think that's really a possibility. I think if I had to make a prediction without like my word being the written in stone, I would say that again, Bitcoin will reach 100,000 by the 2021, and then it will reach 500,000 in the next couple of years. That's my prediction.
Okay.
So
yeah, because there is a limited supply, right? So
yeah,
it has to stop eventually. It can't just keep going on forever.
Well, the supply isn't so much the reason it will rise. I mean, it's true. There are only 21 million coins, and those 21 million coins will be mined at some point. I think it was, what is it, 2024, 2030? I don't remember the exact year. I have to look that up to say definitively. But I would say that regardless of that, just the mass adoption, the reason, like, people are going to start using Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies more and more. More platforms are going to start, implementing them as another way of paying or buying for services. Like already, Tesla has a way to buy stuff with Bitcoin for Tesla. So I do think that just given enough time, I think that Bitcoin will just become more mass adopted, more accepted. It'll become less volatile, and then from there, the price will absolutely continue to rise. And then I don't think it will reach full stability. Like I think it's going to be very volatile up until around 500,000. Like it's going to stay pretty rocky. Like it'll go up and down a lot, and if you buy the dips, you're lucky, and if you don't, you know what I mean. But I do believe
just keep buying the dips.
Exactly. And I do think long term it's going to be a good play, and I think that Bitcoin will continue to be used, and I do think the conversation is going to change. I think that cryptocurrencies are going to be viewed more and more mainstream. More and more hedge fund more and more hedge fund managers are going to start buying into it and putting small percentages of their portfolios, and given enough time, I think Bitcoin is going to be a new thing, and it's going to stay, it's going to be a regular thing. It's going to be like, you want to invest in the stock market or crypto, it's going to be that way. And it's gonna be cool to see for sure. All right, let's wrap it up. This was an incredible conversation. We'll put it on both of our YouTube channels. Make sure you check out my channel, the Shiminator, and also make sure you check out Josh's channel,
MadMoneyMillennial.
Yep. We're gonna try to edit it a little bit to add like our YouTube channel handles on here. We'll see how we'll do that. But this is a wonderful conversation. This is good practice for both of us. We're both still very new YouTubers. So if you can tell that we're both a little nervous, that's because we're new YouTubers. But we're gonna have a lot of fun. We have a long journey ahead of us. This was a great conversation. Let's do it again. And that's it. Thank you so much. Have a good day.
All right. Peace out.